Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning, and you're looking live at Podup with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's we got a JC lined up. We'll talk a lot of sports. We'll also have Seth take over in about 30 minutes or so. If you missed it, Gators sweep Siena in baseball, and Jack Caglione just is on a tear like I've never seen. 13 home runs in 18 games, 3-0 as a pitcher. Also, the brackets are out. We will have a bracket challenge. Hopefully we can post it on our website or on the Facebook Live website and all that stuff today. Gators are in the NIT. They are hosting the UCF Knights. They win that game, they either play the Oregon Ducks or the UC Irvine Anteaters.
That's cool.
So JC, you're on the Titan More Hotline. How you doing?
I'm glad. I'm glad they're still playing basketball, and UCF, that would be a fun game to watch. I mean, it's a highway rivalry, right? So good for them. They got into the NIT, of course, and then of course we had the selection show yesterday, QB, and of the four regions, I'm gonna say in my mind the Midwest region appears to me at least as being the most difficult to get through. I certainly did not or was not surprised at the top four seeds of the tournament with Kansas, Alabama, and Purdue, and who am I leaving out? But at any rate, Purdue, let's see, Kansas, Alabama, and Houston Cougars. So the Houston Cougars are the top seed in the Midwest. I consider that the toughest because you've got Texas on the other side of that bracket at number 2 as the number 2 seed. In the SEC, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams that got in. So, I think that's a pretty good representation for the conference, QB.
I thought the conference got 8 teams in.
Did I miss somebody? I have Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, Texas A&M, and Auburn. Who am I forgetting? Did
Maybe it is. State? I don't know.
I don't think Mississippi State didn't.
Yeah, they're in. They're in the play-in game.
They're in the play-in game. Sorry, there you go. They're in the play-in game. That's right. So that's 8. Good job, QB. So so that's pretty darn good. I think that's a great representation of the conference. And hey, let's hope. I'm rooting for all the SEC teams to win. I want to see them play deep. And I think what we saw in the SEC tournament yesterday was pretty much expected. Although I didn't know they could beat A&M by 19 points, but Alabama had a great tournament, and they get rewarded with Birmingham, followed by potentially Louisville in the Sweet 16 as their sites to play.
Has Alabama ever been the number 1 overall seed in basketball?
No.
So
no
you decided to wear all your Alabama stuff today?
Well, come on. I mean, number 1 seed, bro. And look, that region, the South region, is I think it's very doable for them. You've got in that region, the number 2 seed is Arizona. Okay. And then Baylor's the number 3 seed. I don't know if they were the best team in the Big 12. I don't think so. So, I think that's a doable region for Alabama to get deep. I mean, really deep into Louisville. And that's not a bad trip for fans to take. So, sure. Yeah, Birmingham should get through that, and then off we go. But, for the SEC, I feel bad for Tennessee, but not really. And then, you've got Missouri looks pretty dangerous. They'll be in the South region as well, playing Utah State as the 7th seed. You got Auburn playing Iowa as a 9-8 matchup in the Midwest. A&M's going to play Penn State as a 7-10 matchup in the Midwest. And then in the West, which I think is the second toughest region, you got Arkansas at 8 playing Illinois. And, that's going to be difficult because, Arkansas is going to then end up playing, if they win, the top seeded team, which would be, I guess, Kansas. So after that, you got Auburn as an 8-9 matchup as well. Auburn will play Iowa. And then if they win, they get to jump on the Houston Cougars. That's not going to be easy either. So 8-9 is one of those spots where you don't want to be if you but hey, they're in, so they got a chance. Look at it that way.
Yeah, Andy asked here on Facebook Live if I had any sleepers or upsets. I think last year my pick was San Diego State, the Jackrabbits. By the way,
that's South Dakota State.
What did I call them?
San Diego State. They're the Aztecs.
They're the Aztecs. Well, because I'm writing down San Diego State right now. That's why. Yeah, the Jackrabbits. I love the Jackrabbits, but they're not in this year.
That's right.
But I will say this: my preseason pick is still alive. We'll see how they play in the tournament. The Blue Jays are Creighton.
That's right. That's right.
I think they open up with
they've got NC
State Wolfpack.
Yeah, that's going to be a good game to watch, and they're 5.5-point favorites. And then if they win, they'll play the Baylor UC Santa Barbara one.
Ooh, okay. Also, my other two. These are my sleeper teams. Obviously, I got Creighton, so I can't get off the bandwagon like you would be getting off of them. But they're in the dance. I think Oral Roberts can cause some problems. I think San Diego State. I think they're a 5 seed, and then Missouri's my other one.
Yeah, athletes all over the court, right? I don't know. I mean, I think that's good. Those are good sleepers. Certainly, I like TCU as a potential sleeper. They're the 6th seed. TCU would then, if they win, end up playing either Gonzaga or Grand Canyon. Gonzaga's a 3 seed in the West, so I mean that works out for them, I suppose. And I also think if UCLA gets healthy, they're not a sleeper. They're a high seed, but they are a dangerous team if they can get those guards back. I think Iowa State could be scary as a 6th seed, and you just going down the list. But I
like College of Charleston too. Look out for them.
Why do you like them?
They're a good team, JC. They're a good team.
Okay. Well, they're in the tournament, QB. That's
well, they won their conference. They're 30-3. They beat some big boys throughout the year. Here's a good squad.
Here's a true sleeper. I don't know if they'll get through the second round, but Florida Atlantic, FAU, is going to play. What
Greg on Facebook Live just put FAU at 31.
FAU
31. Are they 31-3?
Yeah, it's a crazy good record. They killed UAB in their conference championship game. They're rewarded by playing the Memphis Tigers, and then should they get through that, they get Purdue and those skyscrapers that Purdue has. So tough order of business there for our Owls, but the Owls have had a great year, and the Owls are justifiably in the tournament. So I like that. Other than that, I don't know about USC, Michigan State, these teams. And I don't know how many teams the Big Ten get. They tend to get a lot for some reason. I'm not sure why, but the committee loves the Big Ten for some reason. But maybe they didn't get as many this year, so I'd have to count it. But to me, it's the easiest bracket is the East. The toughest is the Midwest. Second toughest is the West, and then I guess the South.
All right. Well, we're gonna have a bracket challenge, and it will be posted later today. I don't know if Jared has it on there now. I think Phil's taking care of that, but we'll have it. We'll give away some prizes as well. So you got to have your bracket filled out, I guess, by Thursday. I guess the Tuesday, Wednesday games don't really matter. I don't think those count in the point system. Is that how it usually works, JC? I can't remember.
The playing games, to me, I don't think they do. I don't know.
Yeah. Daryl says here on the Titan MR text line, says, good morning, guys. JC, no offense to you, but I hope Alabama gets put out of the tournament early because of the off-the-court issues with Brandon Miller.
Okay. Well, I guess everybody's made their mind up without a jury and trial and all that. But look, again, the DA hasn't charged him with anything. That is a fact. So go with that as you will.
We got another text here on the Titan Mark text line from Daniel. He says, Shane, I don't care what you say about TPC. I'm here at the Players watching Spieth hitting his third, fourth, and fifth shot from the rough on hole 2.
Yeah.
This course is not a cakewalk. If you watch the PGA Tour, you'd know they are trying to make this the 5th major, not Bay Hill. Masters like coverage and details. Heck, we've even got Mike Tirico on the call. Tell me that doesn't say something. All right, Daniel, with all due respect, they've always said this is the 5th major. And Mike Tirico works for NBC, who covers the Players every year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they can make that course a lot harder than it is.
Yeah, I was there. I saw it. The rough didn't seem that punitive to me. It's one of those courses where if you're okay with peak dye designs, then you're going to be fine. You kind of get into the feel of the course. You know, Scheffler's only played this tournament 3 times, QB, and here he is on his 3rd try, shooting 69 on Sunday, 65 on Saturday, and then 69 and 68. He was 17 under. I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to see the winner at 17 under. Now, granted, he was great, and you know, let's face it, the course did give a lot of people problems. There's no doubt about it. But these scores, you know, I guess you could say, look, there's only 4 guys that were in minus double-digit figures: Hogue, Hovland, Hatton, and Scheffler. Everybody else was below double digits. But it played okay. I mean, the wind was there in some cases for some guys, and then some guys got lucky and didn't have to deal with the wind. Yeah. And you know, that just depends on when you're playing certain holes. The wind will give you trouble on 17, as we know. It will also give you trouble on a bunch of other holes. But that's really the only defense I see on that course, QB, is the wind. The greens were fast, but these guys aren't afraid of that. And so they know how to hold those greens, and they know how to shoot, you know, low scores with fast greens. That's no big deal. So yeah, you know, a lot of scores that were not as good as you would expect, but Scheffler was great. And, you know, I think the 2 of us now both picked the eventual winners in 2 tournaments thus far this year. So between the 2 of us, we've picked 4 winners out of, I don't know, what, 12 tournaments? So
yeah,
that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah, good job, JC. You picked the winner, Scotty Scheffler. You had 2 guys in the top 10, him and Victor Hovland. Yeah. I had 2 top 10 finishers, Sungjae Im and Max Homa.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to TPC. It's such a great layout, and these kids overpower it. There's only so much land. They can't lengthen some of the holes. Yeah. What they can do,
grow the grass.
I mean, if I was running that tournament, but again, you got to remember that people, the average golfer or the fan wants to see birdies.
Yeah.
I'm the other way around. I like to see them struggle in the really good tournaments. I would grow the rough up and bring the fairways in, because if the wind does not blow, they're going to eat these things alive.
Eat it alive.
Eat them alive.
And, you know, case in point, the rough was where Scheffler found his ball on number 2 on Saturday, and he chips it in for eagle. I mean, if it was sitting that far down in the rough, I don't know if he chips it in for eagle. So, yeah, the 18 is one of the hardest finishing holes in golf. We know that. And if the wind's blowing, especially from the east, it can take you into the lake, no question. But when you're up by 5 strokes, it's not a hard hole all of a sudden, is it? And that's the point, is that if you're up by 5 going into the last few holes, there's no drama there. That they can play those holes with 4 irons. So, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we got a text here on the Titan Mark text line from Jim. Jim says, Shane, what is your gut feeling on who the Carolina Panthers are going to take with the first overall? Yeah. The more people that I've talked to are here, I think it's going to be C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, that's who I said.
Or Bryce Young.
Right.
I do not think it's going to be because a couple of these people said, people are enamored with Anthony, but you can't hope that pick works out. You have to see a guy who's actually been an efficient thrower. So we'll see.
Right.
It's still very. I mean, he'll be in the top 5, I would think.
Seattle.
I think four quarterbacks can go in the top 5.
Yeah, and I'm going to stay with my prediction. Number 5 to the Seahawks. There you go. He's gonna stand on the sideline and watch Geno Smith, who just signed a big deal in Seattle, a big contract for 2 years, and he's going to work with Geno Smith and Pete Carroll. And I mean, for Anthony Richardson, that would be I think a dream come true. You got a Hall of Fame coach, and you've got a quarterback that just signed a big contract who's going to play, but you can learn from. I think Geno Smith, is a pretty good guy, good quarterback, and Seattle will do fine. I mean, they made the playoffs last year, so that's a good destination in my mind for a guy like Anthony Richardson. Number 5, Seattle. We'll see what happens, but I could be wrong. I could be very wrong about that.
Yeah, the Raiders are there probably. Andy says, "What if the Bucks bring in Baker Mayfield? Can Trask still beat him out to be the starter?" I haven't followed what's going on there. Is Blaine Gabbert still under contract?
I don't know. I think he might be. Yeah, they got to have somebody under contract. I even heard rumors of a return to Jameis Winston back to Tampa. So we'll see how that works out.
Do you even know who the offensive coordinator is
in Tampa? No, not in Tampa, because Byron was fired. So I'm not sure. I will tell you, there was a trade. There's going to be a big trade we'll hear about. The Dolphins are spending the money. The Rams are freeing up cap space to get rid of Jalen Ramsey, who's very happy to be coming back to the state of Florida, where his family lives. So the Dolphins will get Jalen Ramsey in the defensive backfield, and the Rams will get a 2023 third-round pick. They'll unload some salary caps, create some more space, and they've got this tight end named Hunter Long in that deal for Ramsey. I don't know if the Rams got enough for him, but they've got to free up some cap space because the Rams were way over the salary cap, and that was by design to try to win a Super Bowl, which they did 2 years ago. But now they were one of the worst teams in the league last year, so they paid the price the following year.
So Greg and Andy both say Trask is the only quarterback under contract for the Bucs. So that tells me they are going to go sign somebody that's played football.
Yeah, and I've heard James might come back to Tampa. So
Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
So I've said all along that Trask would be a guy that lasts in the league, whether as a starter or not, just because he's that kind of guy. He's smart, accurate. The biggest thing that concerns me, and obviously that I would say majority of the offensive people that were running the Bucs last year are no longer there, but they're the ones that drafted him. They never let him dress out, and that concerned me.
Right.
He dressed one game in 2 years, and I just didn't understand that. So
I didn't either.
We'll see. Somebody also said that the new OC loves him. Daniel says that. So that's a good thing. It's all about who you know for the most part.
Yeah, I'm hoping for the best for Kyle. I want him to play. I mean, this is the way his career's gone, isn't it? You sit and wait your turn, and hopefully he'll get a shot. And we'll see if Tampa can, be better on offense, for God's sakes. Speaking of offense, how about that baseball team? We had no surprise sweeping Siena. Hartzog, though, was pretty good pitching yesterday, and they won 12-2 in 7 innings. And they did what they were supposed to do against a very, small team, Siena. So I'm so fired up about the baseball team, I can't get over it. I don't know why. I just love the way they hit.
Well, I think you can't get over because of what Jack Caglione is doing.
Yeah.
That to me is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in college athletics.
Yeah.
But we have texts here on the Titan MR text line, multiple from different people over the last couple of days and last week. I can't get to all the texts, but saying, they think this is just the same old Gator baseball team because of pitching, the bullpen, things of that nature. So you're not going to know anything really about this team until you get into conference play because the SEC is a different world. So, JC, having said all that, with all these texts, do you think we got a 3-part question here? This is what is this, March 13th? And neither team has started conference play. I would think that softball is starting conference play this weekend, and I should know that, but I'm not home to follow it. Do you think A, softball goes to OKC, B, baseball goes to Omaha, or C, both go, D, neither go?
C.
Both go.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
JC's on the
Oh
JC's on the
man.
bandwagon.
Listen, I watched this baseball team last against Miami. I actually sat there and watched it for the first time this year. The way they attack at the plate is what I'm excited about. And I don't think the pitching in the SEC, as good as it is going to be good enough to quiet the bats of the Florida Gators. I think the Florida Gators offensively are as good as any team right now in the league. Now, I don't know if that's going to hold up. Usually you win with great pitching. I think Florida's pitching is adequate. I think it's absolutely adequate. I don't worry about these midweek games. I worry about the weekends, and they have shown me a lot on the weekend. They can hit the ball out of any ballpark. They can, that 3-run homers win you games, and they will hit a bunch of those this year. And that's why, Walter also used to say he really doesn't have to do a whole lot of managing if his team gets 3-run homers all the time.
Who said that?
Walter Alston. And
I thought that was like Sparky Anderson's line.
No, that was Walter. Well, also the Dodgers, and Lasorda followed him. But I just think that Florida is going to be in every game because of how they can hit the baseball. Last year that was not the case. This year they got ball guys who can smack it all over the place. And this Castiglione is the player I think most people have the most interest in because of what he's able to do on both the bump and what he's able to do in the batter's box. And Kyle Peterson told Jeff Cardozo flat out, that's the player of the year right there so far. So,
well, I mean, duh.
No kidding. So why wouldn't you think the Gators are going to go deep rather, in May, host a regional, and somebody on this show who watches us wanted to bet me that they wouldn't get through a regional at home? Hell, yeah, they will. And then they're going to play a super regional at home. They're going to be one of the top 8 seeds, folks. You watch. I'm all in. I'm shoving my chips in like this, QB. It's going in.
Celebration Point, that's where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike International Diamond Center, Dave & Buster's, Bass Pro Shop, Regal Cinemas, Visors Rooftop, and the HBC's restaurant Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. A few more minutes with JC on the Titan More hotline. We got a text, one of the many. I just clicked on this one. It's from Larry. It's long, so I'm going to paraphrase.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey guys, love the show. I'm a huge Gator. I'm just here to complain. How can the Missouri Tigers in year one with their new coach,
you're right,
make the tournament, and here the Gators are playing in the NIT?"
Yeah, I mean, yeah, comparisons are hard. I don't think he was the only first-year coach either. I think there was another one. But, yeah, I mean, Missouri had a good year. There's no doubt about it. They got some players. I don't know if you
Yeah, their coach, I can't think of his name, but he was a longtime Florida State assistant, went to – it was either Cleveland State or one of those places.
He did it well. He did very well. He did a good job. Missouri was.
Here's what he's got. He's got dudes. They fire up to 3 and they make a lot of threes, and
they're big too. I think they're pretty big too, aren't they? Big. They got some good presence down low. I don't know. All right, but I'll tell you who else is big. Josh Rivera hit a ball 450 feet yesterday. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. You get guys like that out there, pitchers are scared to death. Where are we going to throw the guy? We're going to try to pick on the corners. We're going to go inside and back them off. Josh Rivera hits the ball 441 feet, 450 feet. You got Langford. You got Castiglione. I mean, this is a fun team to watch, QB. But yeah,
this is exactly who I thought it was before we go, JC. Tom, and you know who Tom is. He says, Shane, tell JC it was Earl Weaver who had the famous for talking about the 3-run homer, not Walter Alston.
Alston. I thought it was Walter.
Yeah, it was Earl Weaver. I remember that. All right, JC, we got to get. I don't know where are they playing in Tampa this week. Where do the golfers go?
Yeah, they're that's the Valspar down at.
It's in Tampa. Okay. So we'll do our Peachland Dental picks on Wednesday. We'll also do our bracket picks, our Final Four, and all that stuff on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So follow our website and everything, folks. Here we'll get that contest up and running throughout the day. If not, we'll definitely have it up there tomorrow for y'all to fill out. So we're going to take a timeout now. We're going to come back. Seth Harp will take over. JC, have a great day, my man.
Okay, see you guys.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Darring Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker, M.M. Parisher, will value fast, friendly, reliable service. Give her a call at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. Take a quick time out. Come back. Seth Harp will join you.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Darlene Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, M.M. Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. 400-4550. 400-4550.
Seth Harp, Harp on Sports with you here on this Monday. Seth Harp, what do we have in store for you today on the program? JC's going to be what do we have in store for momentarily. Well, we're getting some bad echo here, gang. Sorry, my apologies on this. We're getting some bad echo here, gang. Sorry, my apologies on this. I think it's going away now. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. What do we have in store for you on this edition of the show? Well, it's like this. Sorry, guys. I look ahead the NCAA tournament, how the SEC did, what the SEC. This is one of these things. The more teams you get in, the more tricky it can become in the second round and beyond. I look at it like this: second round and beyond. Alabama, a lot to get through the first round. Other than that, a lot. Everybody else is vulnerable. Other than that, a lot. Everybody else is vulnerable. Iowa, Auburn. Oh boy, War Eagle. That's going to be a tough matchup. The way Iowa plays defense is going to be high scoring. I look at like Mississippi State. Pitt is a play-in game. Pitt was one of these teams that we thought was in, that was a lot. Turns out not so much. Also, A&M Penn State. Penn State was one of the hottest teams in the country. One of the hottest teams in the country. And they get stuck with A&M, who A&M is one of these teams that, finished second in the SEC, goes all the way to the SEC championship game. You circle back around with A&M and they get stuck with a 7 seed. Arkansas, Illinois, congratulations. The winner of that gets Kansas. I told you about Bama. Bama's the only lock in the NCAA tournament in the first round. Then you have Missouri, Utah State. The winner of that gets Arizona. Tennessee, This is ridiculous. What's going on here? If Tennessee should win against Louisiana, they get Duke, and Kentucky and Providence, they get Kent State. So I look at the NCAA tournament and how it laid itself out for the Southeastern Conference. This is one of these things where, you're proud and you're excited that you got this many teams in. A decade ago, the SEC got 4 teams. A decade ago, the SEC got 4 teams in this thing. Now you're up to 1, 2, 3. What are you up to? 8? Tied for the second most. So that shows you the effort and the time that went in to building this conference. Was it Mike Tranghese that they brought in from the Big East about a decade ago? It's about a decade ago now. What, 8 years ago? To revamp this conference, to rebuild this conference. And a decade later, they're sitting there. Are they the best conference in the country? No, I think the Big 12 was the best conference this year. But I think you can make a case that the SEC and the Big 10 were neck and neck. The SEC has the number 1 overall seed. But this is going to be interesting because a lot of these teams fall within that 6 to 11 region, don't they? Or 6 to 10 region. You have Alabama, who is dominant. Then everybody else is down there in that third tier. There's not really a second tier. That's that third tier. And Tennessee may be the most vulnerable of all. So again, when it came out last night, the bracket's cool. I get it. You want to fill it out. You want to look at matchups. I always tell people, when it comes to this, you got to look at Vegas odds. Don't look at seeding. Seeding is irrelevant. Look at odds. Look at matchups. And again, I'm not going to go through and fill out a bracket. I don't want to bore you to death here. But 10 years ago, a decade ago, the SEC made it a point that their basketball overall as a conference was in bad shape. I mean, you had Florida, Kentucky were at the top, and then that was about it. And there were years that the SEC champ would be the 4 seed or the 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. Alabama rose to the top, and now you have a pretty solid conference. Now, some people think that Vanderbilt got burned. Guys, look, every conference gets somebody that doesn't get in. Oklahoma State didn't get it out of the Big 12. Rutgers didn't get it out of the Big 10. Vandy didn't get it out of the SEC. There's always Oregon didn't make it out of the Pac-12. Every year there's a conference that gets burned. Every year. So there you go. Every team. There's a majority of these things. So again, I without looking at individual breakdowns, just to give you a little bit of a heads up, Alabama will roll. Missouri takes on Utah State. The winner of that gets Arizona. Tennessee takes on Louisiana. The winner of that's going to get Duke. Kentucky, Providence. The winner of that's going to get Kansas State. Arkansas, is that Arkansas, Illinois? The winner of that is going to get Kansas. A&M, Penn State. The winner of that's going to get Texas. Mississippi State, Pitt. It's a play-in game. The winner of that gets Iowa State. And Iowa, Auburn. The winner of that gets Houston. So it is going to be rough sledding for the SEC. And look, you can have a matchup there. I think, look, of those 8 games, of those 8 teams, I think what do you need to, I don't want to say not embarrass yourself. That's the wrong term. Well, what do you need out of those 8 to sit there and say, okay, 5 have to win the opening round? If 5 of those teams can win in the opening round, I mean, you're tied for the second most teams in the NCAA tournament. So what if 5 of those can win in the first round? If 3 can get to the Sweet 16, is that success? 3 get to the Sweet 16. If you had to pick 3 to get to the Sweet 16, who would you pick? You pick Alabama, but then after that, you wouldn't pick Tennessee over Duke. You'd probably pick Kentucky over Kansas State, wouldn't you? And then I don't think you made Missouri over Arizona State. You would pick Arkansas. It'd probably be Mississippi State over Pitt and Mississippi State over Iowa. But it's asking a lot. It's asking a lot. But again, overall, solid showing. It was a solid year for the SEC. And now, look, if they struggle the NCAA tournament, it doesn't make it a bad year. Is it a changing of the guard in the conference? Alabama wins it. Alabama, just like we talked about over the course of the last 24 months in college football, Georgia has established themselves as the preeminent program in college football. Georgia, the SEC now goes through Athens. College basketball, the SEC now goes through Tuscaloosa. They were the best team in this conference last year. They're the best team in this conference again. Job that Nate Oates has done. The SEC in basketball now goes through Tuscaloosa. So in a 24-month stretch, not even that, 18-month stretch, the SEC in football always through Tuscaloosa for the better part of a decade. Not anymore. Now basketball goes through Tuscaloosa. Again, Seth Harp from Harp on Sports in for Shane Matthews here. Podup with Matthews in the morning. If you have any Facebook questions for us, courtesy of Facebook Live, fire away. Again, and that is, of course, courtesy of Meldon Law. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. And there you go. Of course, I'm joining you courtesy of the Titan MRI hotline. There you go. Let's see here. Chris writing in, the Elite Eight will be SEC free. Chris, there's no, Alabama's not losing before the Elite Eight. No. I don't know if they're going to win it, but they're the most complete team in college basketball. Let's see here. Greg, Seth, have you seen FAU play? I actually did see them play. And look, this is where things get interesting. When the major upsets happen in this sport, it's not one that everybody collectively agrees on. They're always the ones you don't see coming. They're always the ones that you say to yourself, okay, I don't know about this. Okay, wow, I didn't see that coming. And when everybody agrees on this 12-5, things like that don't happen. They don't. The major ones that you see are the ones that no Oral Roberts nobody saw coming. Nobody grasped these things, right? George Mason, nobody saw coming. Those are the things that, whoa, kind of grab your attention. So I like FAU. I think that, well, the problem with this is you look at I don't know if I can ever remember a tournament, once I saw this bracket, that so many teams seeded 3 through 5 can go to the Final Four. I can't recall a tournament ever looking at it that so many teams can 3 through 5 can go to the Final Four. I was thinking going into these things that, like there's 5 or 6 teams that have a legitimate shot to win it. To me, I think, Alabama's the favorite, and Kansas, there's teams that are loaded, but I think as many as 15 teams can get to the Final Four. It's just a crazy bracket this year in terms of how deep college basketball is through that seeding line 1 through 4. I mean, UConn, people are picking UConn, Jay Billis picking UConn to go to the Final Four, win it. People picking Duke to win the national championship. They're 4 or 5 seeds along those lines. So there you go. But again, solid run for the SEC. Looking at Kentucky basketball. Looking at Florida Gator basketball. Again, I think if you're going to pick 2 teams in the SEC that get through to the Sweet 16, they're Bama and Kentucky if I had to pick 2. Florida's going to go to the NIT. They're going to take on UCF Wednesday night in college basketball. Good for Todd Golden and the Gators to do this. I know the NIT is something that everybody kind of makes fun of. The NIT is something everybody kind of jokes about, that, oh, there's the NIT. Oh, it's the NIT. And I get it. It's not the NCAA tournament. I get it. It's not. But I look at the NIT in the same vein that I look at the bowl practices that you get. One of the big reasons, and coaches will tell you this all the time, won't they? One of the big reasons coaches want to go to bowl games. A, program makes money, but for coaches, B, the big thing is an extra, 15 practices? 10 to 15 practices that they get in, and they get to see those guys that are sophomores, that are going to be juniors, freshmen are going to be soft. They get to experiment there a little bit, get to see some things out, get some extra practices in. That's kind of how I look at the NIT. The NIT is essentially what the version of bowl practices are for college basketball. And where Todd Golden is and where this program was this year, it was a team last year, let's face it, that if you really want to get into the fine details, there's not much of a difference between Mike White last year and what Todd Golden did this year in terms of overall productivity and overall scale. But here's the big thing when it comes to this, all right? Mike White was in year 7? Todd Golden was in year 1. And what did Mike White do in his first year? He went to the NIT, didn't he? He won a game, and then they bowed out. So I'm not trying to say Todd Golden's going to be Mike White. No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is you need these extra reps. And now you get UCF. And then if you beat UCF, you get Oregon, which then that's when the Gators NIT run likely comes to an end at the hands of Oregon. But still, it's one of these things that you can get a couple extra games under your belt. And here's the other thing, too. With the win over UCF, it guarantees Florida doesn't have a losing season. And I know other coaches had success out of the gate. Made the NCAA tournament in year one. Not everybody's journey is the same. Some coaches like to get off to a sprint, and then things fade. Remember, when you're building a program, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I always use, there's a couple examples. Look at Charlie Weiss at Notre Dame. Charlie Weiss is a football coach at Notre Dame. They came out guns a-blazing. Look what he did, and then because he couldn't sustain a winning program. Some guys come in, the talent's there, and they just put a couple things in place, and boom, they have immediate success. And then there you go. Maybe the best example of a guy that came in and had immediate success, Jim McElwain. Jim McElwain had immediate success at Florida. Immediate success. Wasn't sustainable success, though. Was it? So, again, I'm glad that Todd Golden in Florida is doing this. I don't know how long they're going to last in this thing, but it's one of these things that, Cliff writes in Dan Mullen. Yeah, look, Dan Mullen, 3 major years. Dan Mullen was beating top 10 teams. I don't think Jimmy was doing that. Jimmy was getting scolded. Dan Mullen was competitive against Alabama. Jimmy Max, not so much. So, again, I like the fact that Todd Golden's doing this as opposed to North Carolina. And look, if you want to be North Carolina and you want to play this game and you want to do this where we're not going to play in the NIT, we're going to take a step back, we're going to focus on the future, that's okay. But look, every now and then, you got to be able to have a beer with the boys. And that's what the NIT is. The NIT is having a beer with the boys. And North Carolina's walking around going, I'm not going into this dive bar. I am above this. You start acting like you're better than everybody else. You can be better than everybody else. You can play better than everybody else. You can have better tradition than everybody else. But you start acting like, hey, this is beneath me. Baby. And that's walking the plank. And now North Carolina, by doing this, look, if they had gone to the NIT, won a couple games and gotten beat 2 years, 3 years from now, nobody would have thought anything of it. What, Xavier won the NIT a couple years ago? Look where they are. And I know North Carolina is one of those top 6, 7 programs of all time in the history of college basketball. I get it. But when you start to play the game that this is beneath us, we're better than this, we're not going to do this, it just came across, it came across as an echo chamber. And that's it. Take it from a guy that's lived in 6 different states and worked for 6 different radio stations in my, I can't believe I want to say this, almost 30 years doing this. It's amazing how living, and it's true here in Gainesville too, there's an echo chamber. There's an echo chamber on all these college campuses where somebody goes and talks to one guy in the athletic department, another one, they go, oh yeah, that's a good idea, that's good. They don't seek any outside consultation, nobody that can bring in any perspective. There is 0 perspective when it comes to athletics on a college campus internally. 0, none, zip. And that's what happened at North Carolina. Everybody has to have a friend in life. Everybody has to have a buddy that can check them and say, hey, look, man, I don't think this is a good idea. At major programs, there is nobody that does that. That's how you have these monstrous scandals like what Miami had and what Penn State had and way back in the day what SMU has. Well, think about college sports in general. It's why athletic directors don't want a commissioner because the commissioner is going to keep them in line. ADs don't want commission. Hey, come on. Do you think athletic directors in the SEC want a commissioner of college football that's going to hold them accountable? ADs don't want to be held accountable. They want to lurk in the shadows. So do school presidents. And that North Carolina's, that's front and center today. No, I'm not going to get all worked up and they belong. No. They should have gone to the NIT. They thought it was beneath them. Okay, don't go. It reminds me back in the day when Notre Dame wouldn't go to bowl games. It happened one year after they fired Charlie Weiss. And like, I almost can kind of get it. in football, if a coach is being fired and a new coach is coming in and the assistant has to coach, you kind of get in those positions where but this is a guy that went to the national championship game last year in the NCAA, was preseason #1 and bailed. Hubert, not a good look, man. Not a good look for North Carolina at all. Actually, awful look. Podup with Matthews in the morning is a service of QC Kinetics. If you have joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. Not surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics, locations in Ocala, now open in Gainesville as well. Okay. I got news for you. When I saw that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were interested in Baker Mayfield, that tells me that Kyle Trask is not the guy. He's not. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are bringing in Baker Mayfield, it's to be the starting quarterback. Kyle Trask, you have to look at this from a sheer financial perspective. Finances first. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in salary cap purgatory. They're not in salary cap hell. That's more like the Saints, who are $40 million over it. The Bucs are in bad shape when it comes to the cap. They are. So here is your chance to hand the reins over to Kyle Trask, who is going to be in year 3 of a rookie deal, and save you some money, at least until you can get things back on track. I look at this with Baker Mayfield coming in, and I was talking with people on Twitter last night about this. I was tweeting things out, and I kept getting tweets like, "Oh, Baker Mayfield's going to get a prove it deal." Some of you guys live in fantasy land with these prove it deals. When I was in Jacksonville, this used to happen too, and they were writers. They were writers that were doing this. These are members of the media, like with Allen Robinson after he tore his ACL. Oh yeah, give him a prove it deal, 1 year, $7 million. He's not going to take that. Why would he take that? When the market's going to be $15 million per for him, which it ended up being. You're going to take a 1 year, $8 million prove it deal. That's you thinking as a fan, how do I manipulate this situation? Not you thinking as a businessman. And I got news for you. Baker Mayfield is not signing with the Bucs for less than 2 years, $30 million. He's not doing it. And I'm being nice. I think Baker Mayfield's going to want more like 3 years, 50 at least. At least. And if you're Tampa, financially, you have to do a deal like that so you can spread the money across it just because of where you are salary cap wise. You're not getting out of a Baker Mayfield deal. You're not. It could end up being like a 2 year, $33 million deal with $25 million of it guaranteed, 15 this year and 10 year next. That's the type of deal Baker Mayfield will get in Tampa. And if you're paying Baker Mayfield $15 million a year, it's to be your starting quarterback. Like, well, they're going to bring him in to compete. A team that's $10 million above the cap is not spending $15 million on a quarterback for him to be the backup. Say it out loud. There's no way they're going to do that. Now, look, if you're talking about legitimate, bringing guys in to compete, bringing guys in to push, if you will, then you start to think of guys like who? You start to think of guys like Sam Darnold. You start to think of guys like, depending on what happens, if Ryan Tannehill gets cut by the Titans. Guys that can come in that can compete. That's what you start to think of. And I want to say like the Joshua Johnson, Carson Wentz. Those are the guys that if you're going to bring in guys to create the illusion of a quarterback competition with Trask, those are the type of guys you bring in. Baker Mayfield's not one of them. So I'm telling you, they're bringing Baker Mayfield in and he's coming in to start. He's going to be the starter. Could Trask beat him out? Maybe. But I have no idea what Kyle Trask can do. No idea what he can do. And if you are bringing in Baker Mayfield to compete with Kyle Trask and paying him $15 million a year, you don't know what you're doing. It just doesn't make sense. So, but here's the thing. At this point in time, there's so many smoke screens when it comes to free agency, so many dips and dodges and twerks and trying to get people to hook, line, and sinker when it comes to this. So anything that I hear over the course of the next month, I don't I don't believe until I see them sign the contract. Oh, so and so's interested. So and so's interested. Oh, so and so's on the market. I do know that the Panthers moved up to 1. They're going to draft a quarterback. Who's that quarterback going to be? I don't know. Anybody tells you it's going to be Bryce Young, it's going to be, could be. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, I think it'd be one of those two. I don't think it'll be Levis. I don't think they'll come up there for that. But I just thought I thought this was absolutely, if you're a Trask guy, it's absolutely knee bending. I mean, it's like somebody went up and smacked you in the back of the knee and your knee collapsed a little bit today. When I saw the Baker Mayfield and the Bucks were, I don't know if talking is the wrong word, when that discussion was taking place, because it's going to be a multiple year deal. Baker's not going to, why would he sign a 1 year, $8 million deal? Why would he do that? It's going to be multiple years, and it could be a prove-it contract, you're right. It could be a team-friendly contract, you're right. But Baker's not going to sign anywhere under multiple years. And this is where you look back on it. This is where Tampa got themselves in a little bit of a bind with Tom Brady. Because year 1 with Trask backing up Blaine Gabbert, third string, fine. But last year, they needed to make a decision whether or not, okay, Kyle Trask is the guy. He needs to be the backup now, and then we can take that next step this year. So, Baker Mayfield in Tampa, that's not good news for Kyle Trask. Cliff Wright again, courtesy Meldon Law, Facebook Live. How long do you think Hubert will last at North Carolina? Do you think they'll consider Jerry Stackhouse? Yeah, he was just in the national championship game last year. I think he's fine. He's just in the national title game. And John Shire closing the year at Duke this year is what Hubert did last year at North Carolina. So this stuff all, ebb and flow, ebb and flow, ebb and flow. He can't miss the NCAA tournament 3 years in a row. So he's got one under his belt. If he'd miss it next year, then he'd be in a little bit of hot water. But will they consider Jerry? Maybe. I mean, they are definitely that, what do they call it? The Tar Heel Mafia. They have that mindset, everything stays in house, everything stays in house. I don't know where and Wojciechowski didn't work out at Marquette, right? I don't know where your guys are all spread out. Dawkins down the road. He wouldn't come back, would he? I don't know if he'd do that, but yeah, there you go. Again, Seth Harp on Sports in for Shane Matthews, Podup with Matthews in the morning here on this Monday. Went through and looked at the NCAA tournament. I thought it was a good showing for the SEC. A lot of tough second round matchups. I think of the 8 teams, 2 teams. I think if you're picking teams to get to the Sweet 16, the safest bet, of course, is Alabama, and then Kentucky. I think Alabama and Kentucky in the position that they're in. A&M got a tough draw at Penn State. Penn State is red hot. If there's any injustice, it's not that Vanderbilt got burned and got left out. If anybody's upset, SEC fans should be upset that A&M got a 7 seed. That was a conference runner-up. They won 15 games in the conference. Conference had Alabama as the winner. It showed you that the committee respected the SEC as all of the conference to be in the tournament, but they didn't respect the SEC to be title contenders outside of Alabama. And let's face it, right? I think we look at this and we say to ourselves, the SEC, every other conference has multiple teams that could win a national title. The Big Ten, can Indiana? I don't know if Indiana can. It's Purdue or nothing. There's other good teams in there, but I don't know, title winner. I don't know. Outside of Purdue, if there is one. I mean, Michigan State can get to the Sweet 16, but look, Alabama's the only team in the SEC that can win a title. The Pac-12's got UCLA, Arizona. Both of those teams could win championships. Heck, the Big 12's got, 3? Texas could win a title. Kansas could win a title. I mean, could Baylor win a title? Could Kansas State? See, the Big 12 just loaded. And then the ACC, I mean, I don't know. Can Virginia win one? We know Duke can. Virginia's another team that got low balled when it came to their seeding. They ended up with a 5. So tough. A lot of good teams this year. Like I said, I can't ever remember an NCAA tournament that deep in the 3 to 6 seeding range. Loaded. By the way, before we wrap this up, Jag Caglione, well, I mean, what he's doing, Gator baseball, it's remarkable. And I said this 2 weeks ago today. I said it on the program that they should do something special for him there. I suggested take the right field berm and turn it into Jack's Pack. Let students in there pack out, let them have T-shirts, turn it into a party zone out there. And in 2 weeks, they haven't done anything. I guess Florida's generational baseball, Mississippi State, everybody talks about the atmosphere at Mississippi State and how it's so awesome. And the atmosphere at LSU, it's so awesome. And the atmosphere at Florida is what? You have a generational player. And you're going to do what for him? You're going to watch him play for 2 years. You'll watch him. Look at him. Wow. There's a chance the university could do so many cool things with Jack Caglione. But I guess we're just going to sit back and watch him play for a couple years and not turn it into an event. It's too bad. All right, here we go. Thanks to Shane. Thanks to everybody involved. Appreciate it as always. I got to get out of here again. Seth Harp on Sports. Thanks for hanging out with us here. I'll be back tomorrow. And I know Shane will be back tomorrow as well as we get you into the later stages of the week. So there you go. Everybody, enjoy your Monday. Appreciate it. This has been Podup with Matthews in the morning.